بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا. وقال تعالى قل هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون إنما يتذكر أولو الألباب. Respected elders and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First and foremost, we have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this great bounty of Iman which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed in our hearts. This bounty of Iman is such that if we even say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah one time in our lives, and we are the weakest of believers, and we have the lowest form of Iman, then if we believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as the last Nabi, and we had no a'mal, and we were to be the worst Muslim and the last person to enter Jannah, then we will receive a Jannah which is 10 times the size of this world, after a cleansing period in hellfire. So this is the value of Iman, that just one time in a person's heart, he has to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely. That person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him such a great Jannah. So how merciful is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that for so little He is prepared to give us so much. For so little He is prepared to give us so much. So how much more grateful we have to be for all the other favors which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. Now, the aspect and the topic which I'm going to mention today is something which is in the general sense. We know that in every topic, in every discussion, there are exceptions, there are specifics, there are certain things which are not part of the general. But in today's topic, it is something that will be in the general sense, and that is the value of a father and what responsibilities a father has and the rights that his children have over him. The rights that his children have over him. So we know that the value of a mother, we're not for one bit devaluing the mother. We know that in the Hadith Sharif, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was questioned that to whom should be the most kind. And 3 times Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that your mother, your mother, your mother. And that is in kindness and compassion that our mother comes first. That whatever khidmah, whatever service we do, that we serve our mother first. But with regards to the value of a father and the decisions that a father has to make with regards to a child, there is no one more valuable to a child than the child's father. There is no one who makes more decisions for a child than the child's father. Therefore, there is no one who can have the best interest of the child when making a decision than the father. And no one can care more for a child than the amount a father can care for his children. Now we're saying that this is in the general sense. There are exceptions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Some people have very bad fathers. Some people have fathers with very bad habits. But in the general sense, normally, that a father will have such love for a child and such compassion for his child that he will always endeavor that his child becomes a person who is better than him. There is no one else in the entire world, not a teacher, not a brother, not a sister, no one else will want a person from the bottom of his heart that his child becomes better than him besides a father. Besides a father, there is no one who wishes that my child must go beyond me. My child must go beyond where I went in life. My child must be successful in life. Whatever my child touches must turn to gold. And this, no matter how old we are. Sometimes we have fathers who are still alive. The same applies to us. We may have children, but our fathers may still be alive. They remain our fathers and they demand our respect. Sometimes people come and they say that, you know, I do everything for my father. I do everything for my father and my father does not seem to appreciate it. Or I do everything for my parents does not seem to appreciate it. And they want you to give a ruling to say that, you know, it's so bad that you are going through this. How could your father do this to you? And how could this be happening? You should not go through such oppression. You should never live like this. You should never live like this with your father giving you so much of advice and your father wanting to be so much over you. One thing we must understand, that our fathers own us. Our fathers own us. Anta wa maluka li abik. You and your wealth belongs to your father. You and your wealth belongs to your father. If your father today decides to come and take your business, if he today decides to come and take your wealth, and we are not for one moment encouraging this, but if he decides that he needs to take your wealth, he needs to take every rand and every cent that you have, in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your father is not wrong. In the Islamic court, they will not judge your father to be wrong, because you did not just fall down from the sky into this world. You fell down, you came as a responsibility to your father. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed your father with this crown of being your parent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed our parents with the crown of the children growing up in their homes. That 17 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years we spend in the homes of our parents, growing up in front of them putting a roof over our heads, them looking after every single thing, every single need that we have. And the next day we turn around after 30 years and we decide that no, today I want to be a free man. Today I want to be a free man. I want to make my own decisions. I want to make my own decisions. We are owned by our parents. We are owned by our fathers. Anta wa maluka li abik. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Sahih hadith, that you and your wealth belongs to your father. That no matter how much shortcomings your father has, no matter you can be in terms of the deen way ahead of your father. You can be an alim. You can be a hafid. You can be way ahead of him in terms of business, in terms of understanding life, but you still belong to your father. You still belong to your father, and you still have to show that respect to your father, irrespective of what a low man in society is, irrespective of all his shortcomings, irrespective of him not fulfilling the responsibility to the best that he could. He is still your father, and we owe it to him. We owe it to him. We are owned by him. And no one in this world can say that I am free. I am free to make my own choices. Leave deen aside. We know that as far as deen is concerned, we cannot make our own choices. We are governed by the Sharia. But let's leave deen aside for one moment. Even in terms of this worldly life, we are not free. We are governed in some way or the other. We are governed by the country that we live in. We are governed by the passport that we hold in our hands. We are governed by the people that we work for. So no one can say that I'm free. No one can say that I need to make my own choices. So in a similar manner, and in fact not more important, we are governed and we are owned by our parents. We are governed and we are owned by our parents. Today we've reached such a stage that the disrespect that we show to our parents, many of our parents landing up in old age homes. The complaint that we have from parents and fathers is that my son has grown now. He has got a big business, he's self-sufficient, he's independent. He does not even look after me. He does not even visit me. Forget that, he cannot even pick up the phone to ask me, how are you? Oh, Dad, how did your day go? So this is the level that we have gone to as far as respect is for our parents. And as mentioned previously, that there is no one who will care for his child more than the father. The father will look through everything. Sometimes even in terms of marriage, a child will come into the home after 20 years living under the roof of the father. After 20 years where the father is seeing to every need of the child will fall in love with someone else. Someone who the father is not happy with. Someone who the father is not happy with will come home to that father and will demand that that father forgoes his right. And that father just accepts that this young girl or young boy is demanding to be married to someone who the father is not happy with. There will be never be barakah in that marriage. That person will find problems down later in his life. He may be happy for a little while, but let his children grow up and he will see that that dagger that he put in his father's heart, that father who looked after him for so many years, but the dagger that he put in his father's heart, slowly trampling it into his father's heart, that will come back to bite him at a later stage. That will come back to bite him at a later stage. So respected elders and brothers, when it comes to our parents, what I'm trying to get at is, number one, realize that some of us are fathers, some of us are children. But as fathers, we need to realize our worth. We need to realize who we are. We need to realize the status that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. And once we realize, once we come to this conscience that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us such a status, that I am the door to Jannah for my child, then the responsibility I will start carrying out as far as my children is concerned will be of a different level. I will start seeing to every need of my child. I will make sure that I am present for every need of my child. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this rank to the father. That is why the respect that we show to our father, the decisions that our father makes to us, sometimes we are so head over heels for something. We are head over heels perhaps for a girl to marry. We are head over heels perhaps for a boy to marry, or for some business deals which look very lucrative. And we are only seeing it on the apparent. The person who will see through it is our father. The person who will see through it and see beyond that is our father and our parents. That if we go to them for advice, they will see beyond the apparent. And they can see far down the line. There's an Arabic saying that a person who has lived for one day longer than you has 100 years more of experience. He has 100 years more of experience just because he has lived in this dunya for more than one day. In a hadith, Rasulullah, a person came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and with regards to relations, he's telling Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that with my family, I try to come closer to them, they distance themselves from me. I try to connect with them, they disconnect from me. I give them gifts, they go further away from me. Oh Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what should I do? And if you look at the cases which are presented today, many people come with the same complaints. I do good to them, they appreciate the other brother more. That brother just comes and makes salam, but my parents favor him more. I take gifts for them, I take them for umrah, I take them for holidays, I do this for them, I do that for them. My parents do not show appreciation. My parents, so the cases are not very different. The question which this person posed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not very different. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, such a beautiful answer, one that should make us ponder. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, if what you are saying is true, subhanallah, look at this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's justice, he has not yet heard both sides of the story. He has not yet heard the other side of the story. So he says that if what you are saying is true, today someone presents something like this to us, that you are going through so much oppression, you'll say, oh, how can you go through that? You've done so much, rather do this, rather do X, Y, and Z. Rather, it's time to now distance yourself. No, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that if what you are saying is true, then continue doing what you are doing. Continue doing what you are doing for them. Continue being close to them. Continue gifting them. Continue connecting with them. Because if they do not fulfill their rights, they are digging their abodes in Jahannam. They are digging their abodes in Jahannam. You must not come the one who is doing bad. You continue with your good actions towards them. This is silatul rahim. This is joining family ties. And joining family ties is not that we invite one another to each other's weddings and we invite one another for lunches and suppers and we do the same in return. No, it is when it's difficult. When it is difficult, when they are keeping their distance from you, when there are fights going on in the family, when there is tension in the family, then you are the one who stretches out the hand. And you are the one who carries out doing the good. Despite that person not speaking to you for 20 years, tomorrow it is your daughter's wedding, extend the invitation. Extend the invitation. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is teaching us. That if what you are saying is true, continue doing what you are doing. Let us question ourselves today. That what decisions do we make when someone just has to wrong us? When someone just hasn't made salam with us? We're not saying what they are doing is correct. Someone hasn't come to visit us for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Hasn't picked up the phone to greet us. How do we react? Do we continue carrying out the good deeds towards them? Or do we say, no, this person hasn't even contacted us. He's my brother, he's my uncle. Just leave him out. Just leave him out. So we really need to value our parents. We really need to value our fathers. We really need to value our fathers. And once we understand that what a father is in life, then we will also understand what the responsibility we have as fathers to our children. If you do not understand that what we are as fathers and the worth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us as fathers, then we will not understand what's our responsibility towards our children. And the reason why we are mentioning this is because we are living in the time, or at that time of the year, where we are making decisions with regards to our children. We are making decisions with regards to which school to put our children in. We are making decisions with regards to which maktab to put our children in. We are making decisions with what my child is going to do for the upcoming year. And very often, 99% of the time in the school and the madrasas, the father has no involvement. Father has no involvement. Parents meeting, the mother goes. Phone call comes from the school, the mother goes. Phone call comes from maktab, the mother goes. The father is nowhere to be seen. The father is nowhere to be seen with regards to vital aspects, with regards to the upbringing of his child. And then time comes down the line, and many parents are going through this. Many cases are presented that the father will come and say, Moulana, please speak to my child. Please speak to my child. It is as if we are living as fathers with ultimatums with our children. That if I do not smack him and if he does not come right, then I'm just looking at him going in his life and he's going to get burned.
I'm just looking at him. He's going to go in life and he's going to get burned. But at the same time, if I'm going to physically hit him, and if I'm going to physically give him that smack, then I'm going to lose my child. Then I'm going to lose my child. My child is going to walk out of the home. My child is going to run away from home. My child is going to live somewhere else. My child won't talk to me for a few months. This is the ultimatum that many parents are living with. That because we have not been involved in the decisions of our children from a very young age, we have not been present in the lives of our children, we reach a point where our children do not care what we tell them. That we are living on an ultimatum, and many parents are living, many fathers are living this life, that they can see that their children are going in the wrong direction, but that dagger is just going deep and deep into their hearts and they can do nothing about it. So from a very young age, as a father, we need to be involved in our child's life. That parents' meeting that's happening at school, the father must be present. That parents' meeting that's happening in the madrasa, the father must be present. Enrolling my child at the school, this is all the father's duty. We have handed it over to the mothers. Not saying that they cannot manage it, but this is the duty of the father. School fees is the duty of the father. Madrasa fees is the duty of the father. The father's responsibility to see to all these type of things. And if we do not see to these things, then our children go up and they're not even becoming a menace at home, but they become a menace to society. Therefore, with regards to our children's most important right over us is that we give them a good dini upbringing. That we give them an upbringing where they recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we give them an upbringing that one is from a dunya perspective, from the perspective of this world. We give them the food, the drink, the shelter which is there, all the amenities, we give it to them, we look after them to the best of our ability. So one alim said very beautifully, Hazrat Moulana Yunus Patel rahmatullah alayh, that our children need our presence, not our presence. They do not need our gifts. Yes, we must do for them. We must give them as much as we can, but they need our presence. If you're not going to do halal with our children, if you're not going to do halal activities with our children, and we're stopping them from all the haram, we're telling them to stay away from all those things which are forbidden, but at the same time, we are not giving them the alternative which is halal. And as parents, we are not taking them out for that halal activities, then what do we expect of those children? What do we expect of those children besides going into rebellion? That we're stopping them from everything. We're stopping them from everything. That is why Moulana mentioned that sometimes a child will come to you, and he'll come to you and he wants to buy a gift. But you know that particular gift, it is not permissible in Islam. It is not permissible in Islam to have that thing as a possession. For example, a t-shirt which may have eyes on it. A t-shirt which may have eyes on it. Not permissible in Islam to wear. So a child may want it because a child just looks at things, and if it looks nice to him, then he wants it. He develops a yearning for it. And that is the nature of a child. That if something is loved by him, he will want it. So Moulana mentioned that buy something which is 5, 10, 20 times the price of that shirt for the child. And then tell the child that I have bought something which is 20 times more valuable. Go out of your way to give halal for your children. In this period of holidays, we know there are so many places where it is forbidden to go to. But yet there are other places where if a person goes out in the morning early to the beach, you take your children, no haram happening, go out, enjoy yourself. Play with your children, play a game of football with your children, have this contact time with your children so that they develop a love for their father. That my father is not a person who is only setting out rules, but at the same time, he is sitting with us, he is playing with us, he is talking to us, he is engaging with us. A love, a bond is being built with a child. A bond is being built with a child. And tomorrow that child will go up to respect his father. That child will go up to serve his father. That child will go up to realize that my father owns me. That whatever I have actually belongs to my father. That whatever amenities I have, it is because that my father and my mother have brought me up in such a way. But if you do not bring them up with this love, with this muhabba, this care, this security, giving them what is halal, keeping them away from what is haram, then what do we expect of our children? That is why with regards to the maktab, it is very important that if we have children, that we do not remove them from the maktab. We place them in the maktab. We make sure that we are placing them in the madrasa. Because tomorrow in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will be questioned. We are shepherds of our flock. Our children are our flock. We will be questioned in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not what dunya we gave to our children, not what we gave to our children as far as this world is concerned, that we are doing for our children in any case. But have we taught them who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is? Have we taught them to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Have we taught them to read the Quran Kareem? Otherwise, it shouldn't be that these very children mention in one hadith something to the effect that we have not given them the correct deen. We have not given them the correct teachings of the Quran Kareem. These very children will be grabbing the collars of their fathers, dragging them in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and telling Allah that, oh Allah, this father of mine did not give me the correct avenue to learn deen. It shouldn't be the case. Therefore, when making decisions with regards to our children, be very careful, be very conscious, and be present. Be present in the lives of our children. Make sure that you are there for every decision. Those small meetings which are happening in the school and the madrasas, be present. Because these aspects are making your child. It may be that the child has done something wrong. It may be that the child has done something out of line. The child needs the tarbiyah of the father. The child needs the tarbiyah of the father. The father who will know how to bring him up with wisdom, with hikmah, with love, with care, with compassion, to bring him up to become a good Muslim, to bring him up to become a Muslim who identifies himself as a Muslim who is proud of his Islam, a Muslim who is proud of his Islam. Not only that, but a Muslim who is proud to have a father like you and I. So very important for us to have this consciousness, the self-worth that we need to have, that if we are fathers, that what type of a father I need to be. How present do I need to be in the life of my child? And if I have some shortcomings in this regard, there is still time to fix it. There is still time to fix it. I can still make the right decisions. And if my parents have passed away, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them with Jannah, then my children are now growing up. I need to be a father who is there for my children. I need to be a father who is there for my children. Otherwise, the child will grow up at the age of 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We are advising the child does not care what his father has to tells him. He's listening to his friends. He's listening to society. He's following what is on social media. But at the end of the day, when he comes home, it is a burden at home. The father and mother do not know what to do. They are faced with such a challenge that the child is now disrespecting them. The child tells them to go to hell. The child is swearing at them. The child is on drugs. The child is fighting. The child is found in the hotel room all goofed up. This is the situation that has gone through in Durham. An alim was mentioning that in this year, many of our Muslim girls in the hotels in Durban found drugged up, found goofed up. And these are children who are born in good, decent Muslim homes. Why the parents were not there for the children? The parents are not there for the children. They have not made the right choices for the children. Tomorrow when the children reach a level of so-called independence, so-called freedom, then the children do what they want. And there is no such freedom. There is no such independence from our parents. We are always, as long as our parents are alive, we are dependent on them. They own us. We need to fulfill their responsibilities. Anta wa maluka li abik. You and your wealth belong to your father. Your mother is your Jannah. Below the feet of your mother lies Jannah. How is it that we can even mention oof, or we can even show a face of disgust in front of our parents? How can we enter Jannah if we have this sort of relationship with our parents? That is why an alim mentioned that the easiest way to enter Jannah, is to make khidmah of your parents. To make khidmah of your parents. And khidmah of your parents is not that in the time when you are one of wealth, when you can do it, then you do it. Khidmah of your parents is that at that time when your nafs is saying do something else, when your desires is saying do something else, and your father tells you to go in the opposite direction, your mother tells you to go in the opposite direction, and you do what your father and your mother wants, that is khidmah of your parents. That is khidmah of your parents. That will earn the dua of the parents from our hearts. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us realize that if we are fathers, that what our work is as a father, what my decisions need to be as a father, the involvement that I need to have in the life of my children. And if we are children, then the respect I need to have for my parents, the respect that I need to have for the command of my parents. We must get over this thing that life is not fair. Life is not fair. We need to get over that step. Whatever our parents want for us, as long as it's in the conformity of Sharia, we need to do what they want us to do, and we will see that barakah is in our life. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the understanding. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also make it such that the Muslim Ummah which is suffering throughout the world, Palestine, Syria, Yemen, all the different places in the world, Sudan, which is suffering, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove their suffering. Every effort which is been made to remove the suffering of the Muslim Ummah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant success in that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unite our hearts, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it such that every one of us can fulfill our responsibility as parents. And if we have children who have rights over us, then we fulfill the right of our children. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.